What's up? Let's see what's going on in the world of gaming news today. Oh, fantastic! Another 15 games got delayed. That's just so super. You know what? Let's talk about that. What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here, and it's time to finally address the game delays, because this is just a topic that's been the elephant in the room. People were very mixed on 2019. It was this really strange half and half of chaotic and quiet. Some of the games we got in 2019 were fun or unexpected. Things like Days Gone were way better than anybody could have predicted and gave us fun open-world adventures, but a lot of times, even in the middle of 2019, people are going, oh yeah, this is just the appetizer. In 2020, that is going to be the main course. And now that we're actually here in the year, in January, waiting for all the games to come out, it seems like we're still going to be waiting quite a while longer. You know what's kind of funny? This video itself is actually delayed. I was totally planning on talking about this a while ago, but we just keep getting more and more delays announced that it just seemed like I had to wait to see what else was going to be shoved. So let's just real quickly, let's list off some of the games that have just been delayed so far. Some of these you may not have even actually realized were being delayed. Cyberpunk is now being delayed to September 17th. Marvel's Avengers, remember the game that actually has these really weird-faced Avengers copies because they can't make it look like the people doing the movies? That is now being pushed to September 4th. Ubisoft has delayed a bunch of games. Yep, you probably forgot about this. We were supposed to be getting Watch Dogs Legion in March. Now that's just super delayed. Rainbow Six Quarantine, delayed. Gods and Monsters, delayed. Oh wait, now there's a bunch of other stuff. Look, think about Dying Light. This was just announced a couple days ago. Now, Dying Light has been in production, heavily under work for, I think like, what, 7 years? I honestly can't even remember now because they've been working on it so long, and that just got another giant delay. That was originally coming out in spring of 2020, and now they just said, well, it'll come out sometime this year. Next up, the ultimate one that really broke my heart. We got another month delay on the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was extra disappointing because it seemed like this game was completely set and ready to go. With all the leaks and rumors going around about it, pretty much everybody kind of assumed, maybe preemptively, that the Final Fantasy VII Remake was just good to hit the presses, and now we're going to be waiting a little bit longer. I mean, even things like Last of Us Part 2, Iron Man VR, these games are all being pushed back. But why? So what I did this morning is I decided to wake up bright and early and try and study the history of game delays and try and figure out what specifically is causing all these games to be pushed back to small and sometimes even very big degrees. And I think I figured out specifically what is going on and why 2020 is just being completely bombarded with these delays. And I think we can find the answer in the PlayStation 2. Yeah, that sounds a little bit random, but hear me out on this. So basically, back in 2000, the PlayStation 2 came out. Now, this thing was pretty much instantaneously a huge success. Not because it had the biggest, flashiest graphics or a nice controller and lots of RPGs, but in fact because it was a DVD player. Well, here's an interesting thing. A lot of people, even back then, were working for years and years and years on particular games. Game dev, even back then, in the early Polygon era, took a long time to do. And so there were people who were still finishing up PlayStation 1 releases. And instead of trying to delay or cancel their projects, what they would end up doing is just spending an extra 6 months of polish to make their PlayStation 1 games look as good as possible so people would still buy and play them on the PS2. This is a fact. This is actually something that was very interesting because a lot of games came out, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 is one of those things that was intended to just be as good looking cross-generational. If you actually Google something like the best games that were released for the PlayStation 1 of the year 2000, you'll see a bunch of games that came out on the PlayStation 1 alongside the PlayStation 2. Even Final Fantasy 9 came out, and I think that what's going on is very, very direct right now. Both Sony and Microsoft have now gone on the record, at least semi-seriously, talking about backwards compatibility, saying what they want to try and do in the next generation. And it sounds like something they're definitely very envisioned is the idea of, hey, we're tired of just these generational gaps where the Xbox 360 is good and then the Xbox One replaces it. Or, oh, you really like your PlayStation 3? Well, throw it away because here comes the PlayStation 4. That idea is definitely kind of archaic, and it sounds like well, not only are Sony and Microsoft trying to make sure that the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are going to be, it sounds like, fully backwards compatible, but I think they're already telling a bunch of the game developers that this is the case. So let's kind of face it, a lot of these game developers now are starting to realize, all right, we need to take this seriously. This stuff, these may be our very last PlayStation 4 games ever made. This may be it. When we drop this, we're going to be immediately cutting ties with this platform and jumping over to the PlayStation 5. So that means that not only does this game need to look and play and be fun as hell, but let's face it, it needs to stand the test of time. It needs to age well so people are still going to be buying it when this time next year, everybody is talking about PlayStation 5 releases. I think that it's pretty obvious that what they're trying to do here is make sure that this stuff is at least semi-future proofed. Now, each of these times, these game developers are talking a lot about making sure that their games are properly polished. You don't want to drop a game that's rushed or bad. The biggest thing here is that not only are people concerned with backwards compatibility, I think that another primary thing is the fact that game developers in general, they just want to make better games. I think that the seal of quality, the idea of making an amazing project that people will want to even play in a decade, that's something that's definitely talked about and really kind of emphasized more than ever. For a nice recent example of this, you don't really need to look further than The Witcher 3, because even though this game came out quite a while ago, it's still setting some records for concurrent players. It still has people modding it to do things like putting Henry Cavill into the game, and most importantly, people are still buying it. I think that what's happening now, more than anything, is that the games industry is bigger than it has ever been. This is a multi-billion-dollar machine, and everybody is competing for your wallet. Everybody wants to try and make the biggest game that will sell the longest, and they realize that if they can delay something to make sure that they have a stronger opening, that is absolutely essential. You cannot release broken games anymore. I think that even early access, this is something that may be a little bit more controversial, but I think a lot of times these Steam or early access games, so many of them are still just failing so catastrophically because I feel like people now want things to be super, super done. I mean, something I found very fascinating personally is even though there has been tons and tons of delays over the course of even the last 7 days, people seem happy about it. Gamers are not mad. They're not saying that this is ridiculous. Pretty much everybody on the internet is applauding them for taking the time to do this right. Of course, we all remember the very legendary quote by Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Zelda and Mario and Donkey Kong. He always said, "A delayed game is eventually good, a bad game is bad forever." Basically saying, if you rush trash, congratulations, you got faster trash. Game developers want to get paid, but more than that, they want to make good art. I'm going to show you something. I've never really shown this before, but I feel like it is a good example of how game developers care. So this is something, that is very, very interesting to me, and it's something that somebody personally gave me. There's a guy who is making a new Dreamcast game by himself. He's a very nice dude. He actually has tracked me down at a couple conventions now just because he wants me to see his demo. And I've sat down and played it. It's like a platformer where you're a surfer and it plays like surfing music that his late uncle wrote. It is a very sweet little game. He found me and recently wrote me a letter trying to tell me how much he wanted me to try his demo. And I feel like this is really an example, in my opinion. It's called Rizzo Island. This is what game developers are. Game developers are just dudes who want to make art for us to play. This guy isn't doing it for a paycheck. This guy doesn't want to become a multi-millionaire or anything. Well, I mean, probably he does. Everybody wants to be a millionaire. But the thing is, this guy just wanted to do something fun. He just wanted to try and make a Dreamcast game that people would actually like. I'm going to actually link his Twitter down below just so you can go and like follow his work. I love that game developers are so passionate. Game developers are out there trying their best, working like 90 and 100 hours a week, crunching their freaking brains out just to try and make stuff extra cool that hopefully will play for a couple years. So are these delays bad? In the short term, they kind of suck. I mean, if we're just being brutally honest here, it does kind of blow that the early portions of 2020 are going to be so dang silent, but you know, it's all going to end with a bang, and in my opinion, that's definitely worth it. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Okay, so if you want to do something funny, while you're watching this video, anytime you see me do like a take, if you see these lines, that's because I was coughing. I had to edit around so many coughs. I am doing a lot better. Thank you everybody for all the well wishes. I am 95% healed. God, I'm so happy I'm healed. I feel so happy. I'm so happy not to be sick anymore, man. I'm giving up energy drinks. I'm declaring it right now. I'm giving up energy drinks. I'm eating healthier. I'm going for walks. I'm tired of being freaking sick. I'm never getting sick again. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, you know, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.